So, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 49th edition of the FDT-TV podcast. My name is Ian.
I'm Mike.
And we talk nonsense about football. If you like a rant, then we're the one for you. If you don't, then I might go on a rant about that later. You have to stay tuned to find out. But before we get any further, there are a hell of a lot of you who listen to this who are not subscribed to our YouTube channel. So if you head over to FDT-TV on YouTube, you'll find the big gold cut. Make sure you're subscribed and you'll get all the best content, especially because we are coming out of lockdown soon and we'll be able to bring you a lot more. So be there or be square. Another horrendous week for officiating, in my opinion. That's where I was going to say that's why I'm wearing a Motorhead t-shirt. I was going to wear all black, but I wasn't prepared because I was just sort of going to celebrate the death of the fair officiating in football. So yeah, I'm done that by donning a Motorhead t-shirt. Mike, we'll kick off with one of my favourites. It may not necessarily be in the same order or even the right bloody thing, but we will go with goal of the week. And in my lovely gruff voice this week, that would have been lovely for Mike, but for the rest of you wouldn't know.
It was no different to any other week, to be honest, mate.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can't even remember. We did a live stream for the last podcast to watch.
We did. West Ham versus Leeds.
West Ham versus Leeds. We did, yes. I can't even remember. We was all over the place because we was watching the game. So we kept jumping in about conversations and going backwards and forwards. We didn't really have a running order, so I can't even remember if we decided on the goal of the week last week.
I can't remember if we did or not. Well, that's bad, isn't it? It's our own podcast, so we don't even know.
It's professionalism.
To be resumed.
Yeah. So in that case, we'll just skip that one and we'll come on to goal of the week for this week, which you have compiled a list of the best goals.
I have. There were some good goals this week and there were some average goals this week. I would like to put my boys into the goal contenders of the week, but I think the first one was a good team goal. The second one was a penalty. So Arsenal didn't make the cut this week. However, there were, as I said, some good goals. McNeil for Burnley versus Everton. What an absolute belter. It was cutting down the right-hand side, left foot, curled it right into top bins. Absolute scorcher. And that was the only goal this weekend where I went, cool. It was a good goal. Trossard for Brighton. That was more of a great team goal for me. There was some nice intricate passes. Just a fantastic team goal. This one I'm throwing in, and it does make me feel a little bit sick. A, because it was against us, and B, because it was just such a cheeky goal. But Lamela for Spurs, his little Rabona through Thomas Partey's legs, just bent it into the bottom corner. I was honestly, mate, I was raging when that goal went in. I've been angry at some goals this year or this season, but that for me was one of those ones where you're just like, come on, boys, what are you doing? And then Iheanacho, he was absolutely outstanding in Leicester's game against Sheffield United. His third goal especially was an absolute corker. So there we go. There are 4 selections for this week's goal of the week. Just to recap, you got McNeil for Burnley, Trossard for Brighton, Lamela for Spurs, and Iheanacho for Leicester. Yep. His third goal. So make sure you check out our Twitter. They will be on there. We will be running a poll. Please make sure you go over there. Give us a follow. Because we'll constantly post stuff on there in terms of the goal of the week and all football stuff. But we'll cast your vote there and we'll read out the results next week.
Yeah. So for those of you who are looking in the descriptions, our Twitter handles will be in the links there. If not, mine is Ian at Ian FDT, and Mike's is at Michael Hawes 85. So yeah, make sure you've gone and followed us on there for all the latest and greatest, and for your opportunities to get involved in stuff. That leads us quite nicely on to the next segment of our podcast. And some people like it, some people don't, and that sort of goes quite in nicely with the title of it, which is one good, one bad. And being as your game was first, I think it's only right that we hand the rights over, well, say the rights, like the key to the London over to you, because London is red from the lowest position in the table. But
Yes.
you can't win anything. So over to you, Mike.
London is red. Very nicely put there, Ian. London is red. I'm donning my lucky shirt today. This has been out the last few games that I've been watching, and it seems to be doing us all right. So I've decided today I'm going to wear the shirt. Last season's home shirt, very nice strip. But yes, we played Tottenham Hotspurs, our bitter rivals. Looking at the live match preview, our predictions, I think I was slightly downbeat on those, just given Spurs' current form at that particular point. But as the week drew on, both of us playing in Europe, I started to feel a little bit more comfortable and a little more confident. We had two really good victories in Europe just recently. Granted, we had a bit of a disappointing result against Burnley, but we moved on from that very quickly. As I said not too long ago, Eric Lamela scored a cheeky goal, and then we bounced back very quickly. Martin Odegaard equalised, and again, it was another great bit of play than we've seen quite often this season. Kieran Tierney running down the left, cutting across, ball in, and Martin Odegaard was there to hit the ball. Luckily, well, we did get a bit of a lucky deflection, but I mean, it was still going on target and possibly would have got in anyway. Alex Lacazette got the winner, or what turned out to be the winner from the penalty spot. That's something that we can come on possibly into the VAR section, although I don't want to dwell on it too much because it actually went in our favour. But for me, the one good is something slightly controversial, I think. We have heard that there have been a few breaches of the team protocol from certain players, and one certain player turned up late yesterday and got kicked out from the starting 11. When I first heard the starting 11 and saw the news flash saying that Aubameyang had been sidelined for breaches of the team policy, it was either going to go one of two ways. It was either going to be a great decision and we were going to win the game anyway, or secondly, if we'd have lost the game, it was going to be that one of these, what the are you doing? Luckily, it went in our favour, and Aubameyang did not feature. We won the game, but I think that sent a clear message to all players: is that if you don't pull your socks up, you will get dropped, captain or no captain, highest earner at the club or not, you will get dropped if you don't follow protocol. So for me, that was the one good. And the one bad was that is now our 10th game on the bounce where we have conceded a goal. There was a bit of flukiness about it. It was a really good, it pains me to say it, it was a great goal. And it was one of those ones that you just kind of have to hold your hands up and say, okay, because that was it more fluky than anything? I mean, I'd say the surprised look in his face, I think he was just trying it just to give it a go. And if it goes in, it goes in. You look like an absolute hero. But if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. It just looked like you were trying to be cheeky. So the other thing I did want to point out is that that's the first time we've beaten Spurs since the 4-2 in 2018. Our run of fixtures against Tottenham haven't been great as of late. And it was nice to get one over our rivals again, especially after how we played in the last fixture. So yeah, really, really pleased with yesterday's result. And I'm still buzzing from it. as you do with a London, your closest rival.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I think you touched on a very good point there. I put a tweet about it earlier, actually, in saying that there's been it's a very mixed reception for what Arteta did in saying no man is bigger than the club. I don't care if you're the captain. I don't care if you're the highest earner. You turn up late, you ain't playing. Has seen disciplinary issues. He's not actually said, but
Yep.
as teams were arriving, there has been pictures that have arisen of Aubameyang's car in the middle of traffic. So
Yep.
sort of, it's one of those. It's sort of beyond his control, but at the same sense, he knows he's got to be there in a timely manner. So, but I do think that puts a stamp on the team, and I respect that. When you said it was going to be a controversial good, I thought he was going to say Jose Mourinho's post-match press conference, because I thought that was a special one classic. I said, referee tired. Did he referee in the middle of like? I did like it.
Sorry, I'll to interject there, but one of the bits that got me was like, well, if you're an Arsenal season ticket, it's a penalty all day long for everyone else. I was like, yes.
In fairness, it's one of those. Yes, the chance had gone because he had swung and missed at it, but he did also get clattered by Davinson Sanchez. If he was a little bit more tactful in it, then because I think he knew that he wasn't going to get there to make the tackle, so he was sort of going for that. I'm just going to chuck my body in the way and hope that he gets a deflection. So it's an unfortunate one to concede. You can see why he's defended like that, but in the same sense, it does scream North London derby, doesn't it? It's brilliant. I do have a question for you though. Leading on from that, obviously the audacious attempt by Lamela. It's not his best Rabona goal that he scored. He scored a good one 6 years ago, but he did nuts Thomas Partey, as you said, and put it to Leno's left. Leno quite clearly cannot dive to the left. Harry Kane's attempt that got ruled out was also to his left. So if Antonio or Lingard are listening, then you can't dive left, boys. You can't dive left.
But don't also forget there was the free kick as well. So obviously his header that was ruled offside, and also the free kick that hit the post.
Yeah, didn't they hit the post twice? Well. Didn't they?
Yes. Yeah.
But we've saying that. I'll get to my point rather than rambling on like I do. Eric Lamela come on for an injured Son, which I think in most Arsenal's eyes was like, oh, thank God for that, because Son has got the ability to absolutely destroy teams. But Eric Lamela played the derby like a derby game. He come on, he was giving little niggles to Xhaka, giving little niggles to David Luiz, the two players in the team who've got the temperament to make a blunder and lose their heads at times. Do you feel like there was a lack of that sort of tactic from Arsenal that sometimes we usually see in these games?
No. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So I get what you mean in terms of the derby, the being a big occasion for the two North London clubs.
Yep.
But I think we have seen one too many times, certainly in recent years, where the players are a bit hot-headed and they do go in for rash challenges, and then you end up in a certain situation like he did. Like Lamela did yesterday with the following through on Thomas Partey for his first yellow card, and then the silly elbow out into the face of Kieran Tierney for the second for his second yellow. And I think whilst I did miss the kind of intensity and the ferocity that we've seen from previous derbies, certainly over not so much in the last couple of seasons, because it's been more about the football as opposed to the occasion. I think that's something that, because we have had a poor record with red cards this year, that possibly Mikel Arteta is trying to stamp out the game. Obviously, he wants to drum in the professionalism and also the meaning of the game. He's played in the fixture himself, but at the same time, we can't afford to keep losing players week in, week out from silly yellow cards or a red card coming from a silly challenge,
Yeah.
like we saw with Lamella.
Yeah,
So
very, very well put. Very well put. The other question I had for you is obviously Odegaard did score.
yes,
He's on loan at Arsenal. My understanding, without any deals in place to make that permanent.
yep.
Do you think that? What am I getting at here? Essentially, what I'm getting at is we see Emil Smith Rowe playing. I thought he played quite well in the game. Was very tenacious, which is something we didn't see from Odegaard. He was in there and doing his tricks and his flicks, but that just impact of solid running at players and putting on the pressure. He's not. He's a very Ozil type player, and provided this can get a goal. Do you think that potentially him getting more games, you're developing him for the likes of Real Madrid, is going to hinder the development of Emil Smith Rowe?
No, there's quite a few people that have been saying that, and I don't think that is something that we need to be worried about. Obviously, there is. I'm very keen on both players.
Yeah.
For Emil Smith Rowe, we had seen glimpses of him over the last couple of seasons, and it's only really this year that we've seen him kind of flourish, and he has been one of the standout players. And I think it's fair to say that the younger generation of this current Arsenal squad have definitely been the bright spark of this season. In terms of Odegaard, we've got him in on loan. There was obviously the desire to kind of fill that void that Arsenal currently had.
Yeah.
And we obviously didn't want to fulfill that position with Mesut Ozil, obviously, because he's left. But I think we still need cover in that position. Now, we have seen on a couple of occasions now both Emil Smith Rowe and Martin Odegaard playing on the pitch at the same time. And they are very similar in terms of the number 10 position, or the orthodox number 10. But we have seen Emil Smith Rowe playing out on the left-hand side. And I don't think it's reasonable to assume that, sorry, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that we would be hindering his Emil Smith Rowe's progress. But at the same time, he's very young. He's I think he's not long committed to a long-term contract with the club, which is fantastic. And I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities to play. We don't know what's going to happen with the likes of Dani Ceballos, with Martin Odegaard at the end of the season. There was an interview I was watching yesterday, and it did kind of make me chuckle, because personally, I would love to sign Martin Odegaard on a permanent contract if the option was available, because I think he's a quality player, and he's again another young player with lots of talent. But the particular interview said that maybe not play so well all of the time, because if you play well consistently, or you exceed that, obviously you can end up getting like a higher price tag on you when it comes to the summer transfers, which will obviously go against us, being that we're a poor club, apparently. So if the option was there, I would definitely purchase or go to purchase him, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form that we are stunting Emil Smith Rowe's development.
And that leads me on to one final question. Obviously, with the fact that there is no option to buy, not this like in some loan deals that it's mandatory, they play X amount of games, you've got to buy them. With likes of Odegaard, Ceballos, we've seen a number of loans over the last few years from Arsenal. There's no option negotiated to buy these players. And do you feel like that's a failing from a director of football or whoever's bringing in these players and negotiating those deals to get a potentially really good player and then have no option to keep them?
Yes and no. And that's yes, on the basis that you could have a player that's absolutely outstanding, starts gelling with the team, and then it comes to the end of the season, they start getting a good run, and then that's it. It all goes, and you're back to square one.
Yep.
But no, and I mean this with the deepest respect, but you could end up with a Pepe situation. Now, Pepe has been at the club 1.5 seasons, coming on to nearly 2 seasons. And it's only just recently that he seems to be hitting a bit of form.
Yep.
Granted, that comes with the regularity that he's playing in terms of minutes. But you do run the risk of potentially being in a position where you could have that one player that's outstanding for 6 months to a year.
Yep.
But the next couple of seasons they could end up flopping, and then you're stuck with that player. Whereas if you do have a player, even when they come on loan, that doesn't achieve or doesn't fulfill the potential that is in front of them, then you're not stuck with that particular player and worrying about having to or end up in a situation you have with Mesut Ozil, Sead Kolasinac, Mustafi, etc., etc. So all the deadwood that we've just recently got rid of, you're not lumbered in that same position. And I can actually guarantee that Kolasinac will be one of the next ones to go. I know he's on loan at Schalke at the moment, but he won't be there. He won't be coming back to us.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Guarantee it.
Right. I'm going to move on to my one good and one bad. One good is that we went more attacking. We made some positive substitutions in the second half and went on the attack. And in my opinion, we were more dominant in the second half. My one bad is our setup against Big Six teams seems to be a little bit well, I say a little bit. It is negative. And it does seem to be that mentality of being scared, where we're in good form, we're able to go on the attack. We've got some good attacking players. Yes, we was missing Jesse Lingard because he's on loan from Manchester United, but when we did change to bring Ben Rama on, bring Lanzini on, and go with that attacking movement, then we played really well. So it's just a bit sad for me that we are chasing a Champions League place at this point. A great opportunity to reel in Chelsea in fourth and still have a game in hand. And we stuffed it, essentially. So that was my one good, one bad. There's not much of it. I've got other things to bring up about the game, but I'll bring that up in our next section, I think, through just for officiating.
I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions on that game.
Go for it.
So the first one, this is more kind of like a generic following on from the whole loan situation.
Yes.
Now I get there's rules and regulations in the football, but do you not think that we should change the rule that if you have a player loaned out, that they should be able to face against your parent club?
Yes and no. I don't think there's anything stopping that from happening, because it used to happen, didn't it, years ago? As many FIFA players will know, the commentary there is, oh yeah, my first game was loaned out and I played against da 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 and scored a header. And I think it comes down to the monetary thing now. If Jesse Lingard had played and scored the winner, Manchester United at that point are then very close to West Ham and Chelsea. So if they then fall out of Champions League place, their own player has cost them best part of 50 million quid. I think that's a little bit of that. If they put in a nasty challenge, or something goes wrong, then that may hinder the reintegration of the player. That's my understanding of it. I know, like with lower league teams, like at Liverpool, loan out someone to Tranmere, then they don't tend to put that in there. They do sometimes, but you sometimes hear that the non-league clubs playing a league club, whether that be Championship, Premier League, and their own players playing against them. But generally, they're very young players. They're not established players like Lingard is. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And you see it more as well. Sorry, across Europe. So where Bayern Munich loan out players to people in Hungary and Belgium and whatnot, generally they don't have those clauses in there because the chances of them meeting up is slim. So when they do, it's sort of an odd occasion. It's not you're definitely going to get 2 chances a year to play against us.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's my understanding of it anyway.
I just think for I do kind of I do get the logic behind it. I just think for me personally, if you're putting someone out on loan,
You want them to get game time.
yeah,
And you,
exactly.
it does seem from a fan's point of view, it does seem counterintuitive, but I can also see it from the other side.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can
No,
understand why they
the
do
way you
it.
explained it, the way you explained it, I think makes perfect sense, and yeah, I think it was articulated very well. The second question I had was just in relation to the Champions League / Europa League positions.
Yes.
Obviously, West Ham are flying high this season.
Yes.
We have seen that. There's still some games to go until the end of the season. There are the likes of, well, I think you've got Manchester City, Leicester, Chelsea, Man United currently in the top 4, I believe.
Yep.
Then you've got yourselves in 5th.
With a game in
It's
hand.
not undoable, is it?
Nope.
You can achieve it potentially, depending on the teams around you's results. Just say, for example, that you have an outstanding season, or what I would consider an outstanding season for West Ham, and I don't mean any disrespect by that.
Untaken.
Would you be happy finishing in a Europa League spot as opposed to a Champions League spot, or would you feel really disheartened for not finishing in the top 4?
Now this is something that I've had a number of disagreements with West Ham fans. There are some West Ham fans who seem to be very level-headed, and some West Ham fans who are the fickle ones, who 6 months ago were calling for David Moyes to be sacked and not brought back in, and now are saying he's the best thing since sliced bread. Before the season started, I said we need to be aiming for top 10. That's a minimum for us. If we finish 10th, that's a good season. The fact that we're now vying for a Champions League spot, and it's still possible, and until it's mathematically not possible, it's always nice to dream. So, like, ideally, yes, I'd love to finish 4th. What an outstanding achievement. I'll come on to my prediction if that does happen in a moment. But if we have, we've got the hardest run of our season now. We've had Manchester City, Manchester United. We had Leeds in the middle of them. Then we got Arsenal. Then we got Leicester, and then we got Chelsea. You know, I know there's no easy games, but these are all games that could make and break a season. So if we'd got a point at the United game, I would have said good result. They've just beaten City, and it's at Old Trafford. No, that would have been a good result, getting a point.
Yep.
We didn't, unfortunately. But it's all about the next game, and I know a lot of West Ham fans are going, "Oh, well, the next 5 games count," and I've been one of them that's been bigging them up. I think we need to look at each game individually and just concentrate on that rather than going, "Oh, fucking hell, we've got 5 huge games that can make or break our season here." We need to concentrate on the next one, and if we can get at least a point from all of them, I think we'll be in the right area. Won't benefit us greatly, but we'll be in the same position we are in. But if we lose all of those games and drop down, because that table is still tight, even if we finish 8th, I would say that's a good season for us. Yes, it didn't go right, it didn't happen, but our target at the start of the season was to finish 10th. We've exceeded that by 2 places. And we've had a sort of really good season along the way, or the best part of a really good season along the way. So some West Ham fans are happy with that and they agree with me, and others tell me that I'm stupid, and if we don't get top 4 then it's a failing. Well, I'm sorry, but if at the beginning of the season you had to put 10 grand on West Ham finishing in the top 4, I can guarantee you none of those who have said, well, if we don't finish in the top 4 it's a failed season, would have put 10 grand on it. I can guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if we finish in the top four, I have a prediction. Okay, it will be the first time West Ham have played in a Champions League in its current form. That being said, obviously we've got the Mark Noble will be his final season, so I'm sure he would lead the team out at some point in at those games. We will win the Champions League at the first time of asking, but we will also finish rock bottom of the Premier League. Because there is nothing more ultimately West Ham than winning the biggest competition in Europe and then being in the Championship the season after. You know, that's the ultimate West Ham way, isn't it?
What would be the ramifications of that? Would you be able to defend your title from the Championship?
Well, that UEFA changed all the rules, didn't they, when Liverpool won it back in 15, 20 years ago, whenever it was, because they didn't qualify the following season. Liverpool went, and that's exactly how I imagine that argument was had, but just in a more Scouse accent, a little bit more phlegm. And they said, yeah, a few of them thrown in. But yeah, so I've just thought back to when we was walking through the park in Liverpool, and I can't remember if it was your foot just went, "Oh, I just spat on the floor." It's like, what? It's like, I'm Jamie Carragher. That's just popped into my head and made me laugh. But Liverpool made a fuss because they're like, well, how can we defend our title if we're not in the competition? We should be at the right to defend our title. So every reigning champion automatically gets a spot in the group stage of the Champions League. So regardless of if we were relegated to the Championship, we would still be in the Champions League. Which would be quite interesting with the fixture clashes, because I imagine there would be a fair few. But I think it would be the first time ever that a second division club has been in the Champions League.
I would love to see it.
I'm just saying that.
Not that I would love to see you in the Championship. I would love to see the Champions League.
Yeah.
And I would just love to see you coming onto these going, the champions, as we've discussed a couple of weeks ago.
What would be even funnier is if we're in the Championship and I'm still doing that. The thing that scares me, right, is we've heard rumours about deals with the London Stadium and being taken under control in 2023 of West Ham and things like that. And that's when you might see, it's all speculation, but that's when you might see the owners change hands, because then they've got obviously a little bit of, well, we own our own stadium, go with it, ups the price a little bit. My concern is if we get into the top four, we've already had Chelsea sniffing around Declan Rice. Now Manchester United are sniffing around Declan Rice. Thomas Souček is wanted by Barcelona. Tufel's wanted by a number of Premier League clubs. Antonio's wanted by a number of Premier League clubs. I can see us getting to the best part of where we are and then rinsing that squad every penny they can get, because you think of Payet, that when France won the World Cup and he was playing with them, there was £50 million bids coming in. They rejected it. He went for what, 30 million, £28 million to Marseille 6 months later, and out of it there was £50 million bids coming in. That went out the window. He went for 18 million quid. So the owners have burnt their fingers so many times, and they are greedy, and that it's hard because from a fan perspective, they do ruin the club. They've made promises that they can't fulfil. Is where they've gone wrong. But they're also rinsing the club for money by paying their wives to be executives and Karen Brady to be an executive 2 days a week. She earns more in a week than I do in a year. She works less than 18 hours a month. West Ham United. It's frustrating to see. But where was I going with this point? I've gone on a rant and lost my way. But in the same sense, it is a business. They're trying to make money out of it to fill their own pockets. So it's sort of like, well, if you was in the same boat and you could make money out of it, would you do the same? Well, yeah, you probably would, because it's my business. I own it. As much as it is a football club, it's sort of like, well, I'm the one pumping millions of pounds into it. so I need to get millions of pounds back out of it.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one. I don't agree with how they're doing it, but I can understand from their perspective why they do it. The biggest problem is they don't shut up. They keep making promises and promises and promises, and they don't fulfill those promises, which then causes outrage in the fan base because you've told us you're going to do this. You've not done it. They said within 10 years of them taking over, they'd be in the Champions League. But actually, if we do it this year, I don't think they're that far off. I think they're only a few years out. But they haven't invested in the squad. But no, they have, but they in the wrong areas and in the wrong ways. It's all a bit of a mishmash. When you take it out, I think they've spent about 40 million quid in total. Net spend.
Right.
But yeah, so in answer to your question, after that rant, I'm sure you will enjoy the rants and the going off piece. If we finish above 10th, it's still a good season.
Okay. Will there be a little bit of you that's like...
I would don't get me wrong. I would be frustrated because at the moment we've put ourselves in a position where we are the masters of our own destiny, and the players are all giving 100%, and I cannot fault them for that. On the days like yesterday when we played Manchester United, we weren't the better team for the whole of that match, and we didn't deserve to win it. Did we deserve a draw? Possibly, but I'm very much one for saying if not the best man on the night, fair play, So if more often than not this last stretch of the season we're not the better team, then we don't deserve the spot. And it's as disappointing as it is. You've got to give it to the other teams who do manage to beat you.
Yeah.
Pardon me, sorry. So yeah, I would be disappointed, but in the same sense, I also don't want to be in a championship. So what I was getting at, is if we get the Champions League, I think the owners are going to rinse the club for players, and it will be worse off than if we didn't get into the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at. But I should have just said it like that, really, shouldn't I?
I do. As others do, really enjoy your rants.
Do you know what the worst bit is, right? I get halfway through them and I just totally forget what I'm talking about. And I'm like I know there was a point. When I start, I am like in my head, I've like articulated this like fantastic argument. Like if I can get this across, this would be brilliant. And then it all goes to pot somewhere around the fourth or fifth word. So, I can't help it. I'm sorry. I've just wasted 10 minutes of people's time to say something I could have said in 2 sentences.
I'll be happy if they finish above 10th.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's disappointing but happy.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate.
It's a bittersweet moment. That, unless you've got any other West Ham related questions that you want me to go on another sort of
No. For the sake of our listeners,
one a week's more than enough. Just say how it is. It moves on to my favourite introduction for our next section of this lovely.
Viewers' ear discretion is advised. Bloody.
Do you know what tickled me there? It's before, I know you said ear discretion is advice. I thought you said Ian's discretion is advice. Like, just fast forward through his bits. So he goes on So, we spoke briefly about Davinson Sanchez. That went to VAR.
Yep.
Would you say, for once, good decision? Or would you agree? Are you inclined to agree slightly with Mr. Mourinho?
I don't. Do you know what? Right, when I was talking to my dad when that happened, and my dad was, "Oh, get out, you fucking cheat." You know my dad.
Yep.
You know my dad. When I first saw that challenge, I was absolutely disgusted, and I was one of these like, if we don't get a penalty from this, I'm going to stop watching football. Blah 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 blah. Um, and I hate to admit, and I really hope my dad doesn't watch this video.
Mate, after my 10
That
minute thing, he would have tuned out. Don't worry.
no, after seeing it a couple of times, I'm fit. It's a 50-50 one for me. It really is a 50-50 one for me. I will hold my hands up and say that I do think it was a bit soft. The chance had gone, but at the same time, we've seen penalties given us against us for less. Um, but Sanchez has gone absolutely clattered straight through to him.
Yep.
I get the body's on the line and all this sort of business, but just as an example, is that had Lacazette been a fraction of a second slower in terms of taking the shot on,
Yep.
had Sanchez gone through him and not hit the ball, it's still for me a penalty.
Yep.
But at the same time, just as an example, is that if you have a player that's running through, knocks the ball off, as in knocks it in front of him, and a player goes through him, that's a foul. So for me, I'm gonna say yes. I think it was the correct decision, but I could understand if it wasn't given. I think it would have taken me a while to get over that, but upon reflection, I could have possibly understood it. But I would say 75%. I think it was the correct decision.
Yeah.
And this is why VAR annoys me, because it's.
Well, here's the way I looked at that. Is the referee pointed straight to the spot.
Yep.
When you see it in full speed, and from the angle the ref was viewed it for a penalty every day of the week, he didn't see that Lacazette had already fluffed his shot. I think it was a dopey challenge from Sanchez, and I do think he was trying to just fling his body at it to block the shot. But I think where VAR look at it, they need to look at, as they probably did, was it a clear and obvious error? Well, no, it wasn't. And that's where the line should have been drawn, because then you get the subjectiveness coming to it. Well, the chance was already gone. Well, no, was it a clear and obvious error? No, it wasn't a clear and obvious error, so it is a penalty. And that's the way I looked at it. And I understand why Mourinho felt aggrieved, because the chance had already gone. Should he have gone out? Should the VAR have made him look at the monitor? Maybe, but then again it comes into the subjectiveness. But you're also then referring it back to the on-field official who has got the feel of the game. Was it meant in a? Was it there any intent behind it? No, I don't think there was. They give him the decision. The biggest thing I do think that we still need, and they're banging on about this every week, is the communication. Why can't and I know they go, well, it's hard to do. Well, we can hear what all the players are saying, and the effing and blindings, and the people have to apologise for that. Why can't we hear what the officials are saying? And I think part of that, and that leads on to one of my points, is because the referees bias. The official in the Manchester United West Ham game was fucking abysmal. And I do apologise for using that language, but there is no other words for using it other than fucking abysmal. And one of the things I'm going to say about it is my favourite Manchester United player is Scott McTominay. The big Scott, he flies around the pitch, puts in a tackle, can hit a ball. As a person who doesn't particularly like Manchester United, I think he's a class player. However, he got a ticking off. Naughty, don't do it again. 3 bad tackles later that were all bookable offences in their own right, he got a yellow card. And then he put in another 2 yellow card challenges, which he got nothing for. Not even free kicks. And it's like, at what point should someone be saying, you need to look at that, because he should have been booked for that? But VAR doesn't look at yellow cards. So that wound me up. And then the fact that Manchester United time wasted in the extra time, right? So it was 3 minutes of added time. Time wasted for a minute and a half. I know this because I timed it. Then at 93 minutes, we have a call. Ball goes out for a corner. Referee blows a whistle. End the game. Well, hang on a minute. We've only played a minute and a half of extra time. If that was up the other end, they would have continued having corners because it is an attacking opportunity until they'd scored a goal. That's how it goes. But there was a number of penalty shouts which didn't get looked at by VAR. The referee wasn't interested in it. None for Manchester United. No penalty shouts for Manchester United. But
that's surprising. Man, you love a penalty, don't they?
The closest thing there was for that, and I did think they were going to give a penalty, and at that point I would have stopped watching, was when Bruno Fernandes went over Fabianski. So Fabianski's laid there. I didn't see any contact. Bruno Fernandes jumped over him and rolled around on the floor. There obviously was some contact because Fabianski stayed down for a little while. I don't know whether that was just a bit of shock or what it was. But before Fernandes kicked him, he was already down. He was already had both hands over the ball, and he was stationary. So the fact that Bruno Fernandes then continued to roll around on the floor for a couple of minutes until he realised actually no one's bothered, then got up and run off. He wasn't hurt. You know, I was surprised that Manchester United didn't get that as a penalty. Because we've seen what they have got this season. But it wasn't the VAR that I was disappointed in. It was just the officiating. I mean, I thought VAR looked at penalty shouts.
They should do.
They didn't. There was 2 clear penalties. Like player going through player, like no contact on the ball, pulling of shirts, which is a yellow card. We've seen them given all season long. Nothing.
Yep.
And it's just very frustrating.
Oh well, we've banged out on about it for the last 2 years now, haven't we? With the inconsistency with VAR, there was a stat that I managed to look out for this current season is that Arsenal have been hard done by for 12 VAR decisions, 12 this year, which is I'm not saying. I mean, if you were to put that as half the points, because there could have been draws out of games and whatnot, we could be in a higher position.
Yep.
And again, we've said it so many times that they are subjective. That you could have a panel of 3 referees, and each one of them could give a different reason as to why or why not a decision has been made.
Yeah. And
that's the bit that pisses me off.
And that's why I think it's imperative that we are able to hear officials. And if that means that they have to book players for foul language, which is by the laws of the game is an offence, then so be it. Book them. And when they kick off, send them off. Because after 2 weeks, they will stop doing it.
Yep.
Oh, actually, we're down 4 players in the first 15 minutes. Well, that ain't on. Well, hang on. By the laws of the game, you were swearing, which is misconduct, and then you were swearing at the referee, which is also misconduct. So yeah, rightly, you were sent off.
I think it might be something that we see introduced when crowds and stuff start coming back in, because then it will drown out the noise on the pitch. I'm not saying it'll be completely, because I mean there are some times that you still get fans running past the on-pitch mics where you can hear them swearing and stuff like that. And as you said, you do have the occasional, well, sorry for any bad language you may have heard. But you never know, that may be something that I can't see it happening, but you never know.
But they're also missing a trick. When you go and watch rugby, you can buy for that game something that's tuned into the same frequency, a little radio that's tuned into the same frequency as the referee's microphone. And they're like £5 a go. So, you know, you're missing out on millions of pounds every match day. Because people will buy them.
It's what?
The officials
£5 a go times, even if you look half the stadium or even 20,000 people. That's a lot of moolah.
Yeah, every game.
Hmm.
But the only reason I can see they don't want to do it is because they're saying things and making decisions they know are wrong. Because you do see it when in the first half, where a referee makes a. I mean, you used to see it more before VAR. Referee makes a clanger, gives a penalty away that wasn't a penalty. He gets a chance to look at it in a changing room at half time, and then gives a really, really light penalty the other way. Looks for any excuse to give a good opportunity. They're not. I'm not saying they need to be perfect, but if you're able to communicate why that decision's been made, then I think a lot of fans will go, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with it, but I understand. And I don't
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've just had a news flash up on my screen.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, Jose Mourinho has now fined Harry Kane. Apparently, he turned up 80 minutes late to the North London derby. I was gonna, if there's, I was gonna bring that in earlier, but I just totally forgot.
Oh, and that was me thinking you were being sincere.
No, banner, hashtag banner. Yeah, but across the league, we've discussed obviously the major one in the Arsenal game. We've discussed the poor officiating overall, especially in the West Ham Manchester United game. Has there been any other clangers that you've noticed this weekend?
To be honest, I haven't seen many of the games. I watched a lot of the highlights, but a lot of the highlights don't really tend to go into it unless it's something like a couple of weeks ago for the West Brom decision or something, because that was kind of like a game changer. If they kind of went into it a little bit, but apart from that, I didn't really see anything really stand out. Be fair, and there was one thing I did actually want to touch on.
Go on.
In terms of the Arsenal game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the bit where Harry Kane just absolutely went through Gabriel?
Yep, yellow card
all day long.
Yep.
I can't even understand why there's nothing retrospective.
But this is my point about Harry Kane. Yes, he can score a goal, but he's a fucking dirty player, and I've said it for years, and I will continue to scream it from the rooftops. He's a dirty player, and he gets sort of the brush of the green because he's the England captain. Or Harry Kane wouldn't do that. He's the England captain. Yes, he fucking would.
Mm.
And he did. He does it every game. He spits the elbows, he claws, he pulls, and he absolutely slams players without any need.
Mm. Well, that was the only other thing. It was disgusting.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think that stemmed from the frustration that we did manage to keep it. So if you go back and look at my preview, I did actually mention that we needed to keep Harry Kane quiet because he loves a goal against us. I think he's scored like 7 in 7 against us. Son has been in unbelievable form the last few seasons. Mm-hmm. And we were quite fortunate. I mean, there were some scenes from other streams and stuff where you do see them laughing at a player's misfortune. Obviously, it's what I believe to be a hamstring injury. And it wasn't that I was applauding the fact that he was injured. It was more applauding to the fact that that's a player that they are going to have to, or we are not going to have the struggles against again, because he's been in outstanding form. And as soon as I saw him get injured, that was more of a relief for me that he was coming off. I wouldn't go,
but I totally understand where you're coming from.
And Gareth Bale as well was another player who has been in excellent form as of late, but just didn't get into the game yesterday. And I think that was more kind of boiling over for Harry Kane for his frustrations, because as you jokingly said, it took him 80 minutes to get into the game. He hit the post a couple of times, or there was a couple of chances right at the end. I I think we were really fortunate to hold on at the end. But it's 3 points. North London is red. Come on, you Gunners.
Here's the thing, right? A lot of Tottenham fans are moaning about the negativity and how bad the players are under Mourinho and this, that, and the other. Pochettino was getting the same result. Towards the end of his tenure, they were playing negative football. No one wanted to press. And Pochettino plays a pressing game. And not a single one of those Tottenham players was pressing. So the fact that Tottenham players are now moaning they're not pressing under Mourinho, well, is that Mourinho's fault? Or is it the players?
I remember a call on TalkSport on drive time over the winter. The Spurs were doing quite well, and I think they were right near the top at this particular point, if not at the top at one point. I can't remember if they were or not. And there were some people that phoned up and they were asking, would you be happy to play the style of football that you're playing and pulling the results out, or would you rather see you playing free flowing, more attacking football? And I think it would be very much, if the results are going your way, I personally, I wouldn't give a shit if we were playing ultra defensive, counter attacking football and we win 1-0 every game.
Yep.
It wouldn't bother me. It's when you start losing those games and then you're not even going out and making a chance of it. That's, I think, when you would get frustrated with it. And that was very much the opinion of a few of the Spurs fans that were phoning up about that particular topic. They were saying it's all very well and good when it's going in your favour, but then I don't think you could then no, you can, because football fans are fickle. You can be pissed off if it's then not going in your favour. But
the thing is we see it. The season that Poch got the sack and Mourinho was brought in, Tottenham were doing really well. Beginning of the season, free flowing football, players playing really well, scoring lots of goals. Then all of a sudden they're playing really well. All right, we're second, switch off. By then, can't get a tune out of them. Won't press, won't score goals, can't defend. Beginning of this season, Mourinho's up there, and everyone's going Tottenham could win it this year. Playing free flowing football, scoring loads of goals. Seems like it's in the bag. All of a sudden, players switch off. Can't get a tune out of them. They can't defend. They won't press. Attack. I think systematically there's a problem with that dressing room. There are some big characters in there. Harry Kane's a big character in there. Dele Alli's a big character in there. Hugo Lloris, who is a big character in there, but he's also having the worst spell of his career. Not necessarily all his fault. I think some of that comes down to the players in front of him not giving him the protection that a goalkeeper should get. But Dele Alli's had a falling out with the manager. Tanguy and Ndombele had a falling out with the manager. Big signing. Harry Kane doesn't seem like he's happy. Doesn't look like he's not scoring a goal a game. So he's obviously clearly going to be unhappy with maybe his own performance, but he's not going to be happy. All of that then brings in more negativity, and then it's really hard to get out of. And it meant a sack for Poch, and they brought in Mourinho, and that lifted spirits. And now, 18 months down the line, we're in the same spot. They haven't got rid of any of those players.
I think one of the things is for Spurs this year is their forms, because I think they go through dips and waves, don't they? I mean, they had a pretty good run at the start of the season where they were flying high, and then they kind of dropped away a bit, and that obviously shows in their league position. But they come into this particular fixture against us off the back of, I think it was like 5 or 6 wins. So for me, they were going in as favourites into the game, which is why I gave the prediction when we were doing the live stream last week that we were going to get absolutely tonked. But there was just something in me when I come to do my preview that I thought, do you know what? We've had some shockers recently in terms of the Burnley result. That was obviously a draw. But I think one of the things that we've seen just recently is when you compare us to the start of the season, and certainly towards the end of Unai Emery's reign at the club,
Mm-hmm.
we weren't creating chances. Now, we weren't creating chances, and the defending was crap. The defense has improved. I wouldn't say it's impeccable. It's improved under Mikel Arteta, but we saw kind of the opposite effect. So under Unai Emery, we were scoring goals, but we were still conceding goals. Under Mikel Arteta, we were conceding less goals, but at the same time, we weren't A, creating as many chances, or B, scoring as many goals.
Yep.
So, but just recently, we have seen the balance kind of go in our favour, and we have been making a lot more chances. We just need to become a lot more clinical with those. And that's something I think will come over time. And you're starting to see some of the performances out of the players, such as your Emil. Sorry, I think that's a bit harsh. But in terms of Saka, I will say Emil Smith-Rowe. Granit Xhaka, I think, since he come back from his red card, I think has been absolutely brilliant. Nicolas Pepe, you know how much I'm kind of on the fence with him. He's starting to show a lot more promise, certainly over the last 6 or 7 games. 6 or 7 games that he's played in. There's still some mistakes in his game, i.e. he holds onto the ball a bit too long occasionally, but he seems to be a lot more threatening. And I think the right-hand side is definitely the position for him, so he can cut in on his right-hand side. It does make him slightly more predictable, but I think if he's given the chance, he's got the pace, he's got the skill, he's got flair, I think he can get a shot away. And I can't remember where I was going with this. He's gone.
You've been talking to me for too long, mate.
It's gone. It's all gone. Oh, yeah. So I was just saying that it's just come back to it. So, yeah, because we have seen the development. So you look at the Olympiacos game that we played last week, and we look at the Benfica game, where there were stupid moments, but then we've come back and pulled through, and we have created more chances, we've scored more goals. And I think certainly against Olympiacos, we were 1-0 up. They obviously equalised due to a stupid goal, and then it was almost like there was a switch. And I had exactly the same feeling coming into the Chelsea game when we tonked Chelsea the second half. In the reverse fixture at the beginning of the year. Oh, sorry, the back end of last year. That I wasn't confident going into that. I was more confident going into the game because of what I'd seen in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what it was like coming in for this particular game. So, I think for Spurs, we may start seeing them on a bit of a dip. I'm not saying we definitely will, but you never know.
Yeah,
just from looking at the season, it looks to be going that way.
They lived up to their expectation of being a bottle job, didn't they?
100%.
As you said, they were the informed team. Your fixture was moved, so was theirs. So you had to travel; they didn't. Where was it?
I'm so home.
What for you?
The Emirates, yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Yeah, not that really makes a difference anymore because there's no crowd. But they were also the informed team. They're scoring lots of goals. You're out of form, so it was theirs to lose. And as soon as it was theirs to lose, you know that they're not going to capitalise, which is a good thing. Before we go any further, because I have got another important question to ask you.
Can we just cut there for just 2 seconds?
Oh,
I'm busting for a piss. Give me 2.
You'll never tell him. We'll never tell him we'd undid it. But we did. West Ham are fucking massive. Hashtag massive in the chat, please. Right. So, as I was saying, before my one very important question, shall we move on to the scores on the doors?
Yes. So we had 2 fixtures last week. Arsenal versus Tottenham, Man U versus West Ham. We'll start with the Arsenal-Tottenham fixture. You predicted a very optimistic 0-5, Tottenham to win 5-0. And I predicted Tottenham to win 3-1. The score, however, and was closer if you watch my preview. Just to reiterate, if you watch my preview, I did mention I thought it was going to be 3-1 in the other way.
You don't get any points for that.
Arsenal did win.
You don't get any points for that.
Sorry.
Doesn't count in your preview.
No.
I predicted 2-1 in mine.
So Arsenal won 2-1. Unfortunately, 0 points for both of us. We then go on to the Man U West Ham game. You had 2-1 to West Ham. I had 2-1 to Manchester United. The score was 1-0, and I get a point. You get 0 points. So for this particular week, I come away with 1 point in 0 points. So the table as it stands is 48 points to me, 45 to you. So there's still close. 1 week can change it. 1 week can change it.
And this week, double points.
Yes. A silly idea from me.
But I like it because it could cost you. So, could well cost you. And that reason it's double points is the next game up. And there is only one game. It's West Ham versus Arsenal. So, there will be some extra videos. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel. You can see will be coming. But as we're the home team, should I give you my little prediction first?
Go for it, mate.
My prediction is Leno can't dive left, right? Left, right. Jesse Lingard is back. Fornals, who was out injured, hopefully will be back. Ogbonna may be back. Masuaku is back in training, so may be back. So we may be at a full complement of West Ham United. Now, as I said earlier, West Ham or David Moyes has set us up quite negatively when we play a Big Six team, which traditionally you would put Arsenal in. Maybe not this season, but traditionally. So my concern is that we are going to play 5-3-2 and be poor. If we play a 5-2-3 like we have done with two wingers, which I'm hoping will be the case with Lingard on one side, Benrahma on the other, then I think we'll give you a game. If not, then I think it could be quite boring. Part of me wants to go for a 0-0 draw, if I'm honest, but I'm going to be optimistic and say it will be an interesting game, and we are going to win 2-1. I wanted to go 2-2, but I was like, no, positive 2-1 to West Ham.
Do you know what's funny? Do you know what's funny? I wrote my prediction for you, as in what I thought your prediction would be, and I've already got 2-1 written in the box for you.
Good. I was going to go. I would say part of me wanted to go 0-0, and I really hope it's not a 0-0 because we need points. But in the same breath, I would take a point out of this game.
I think going on recent fixtures, especially in terms of away fixtures, we tend to not to do away. To do well away. We have seen it for I don't even know how many seasons where the home record is definitely better than the away record. We have seen some turnaround in away fixtures. Certainly this season, it's been more positive in terms of away fixtures.
Yes.
This, unfortunately, is a London derby. And as we have seen, form goes out the window for derby. I have seen some improvements to Arsenal, as I mentioned earlier, over the last few weeks, in terms of the mentality. And I do think this is a game where our away record could be more improved and picking up a win away. I do think that we will have a steady goal in us, as we tend to do. We haven't kept a clean sheet, as I mentioned, in 10 games now, and I think that will continue into the 11th game. But I'm going to go 2-1 to us in this particular game.
Oh,
so as you mentioned,
one of us could be happy, one of us could be miserable, or we could both be miserable with a 0-0 draw.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
especially as
worst case scenario, isn't it? Really, 0-0 draw. Um,
yeah. No, I do think there will be goals. It wouldn't surprise me as well if 1-0 up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right. That leads us on to our last little section, which we do call any other business, but it's sort of any other business throughout anyway. So, but there is two footballing questions I have for you. The first being there are rumours the Premier League are going to postpone the 36th and 37th game of the season. So every club then has the opportunity to have 10,000 home fans for one of their games. Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think we should just play it as we're meant to play it? And it's unfortunate for those who don't get the fan.
That's a tough one. It's a tough one because we've also got to think of the Euros because we've got that in the summer.
And every club is
But
moaning about fixture congestion.
yes, and also fans haven't been able to, or only a few clubs were able to have fans in the previous tiering structure within the UK. Do you know what? It is a tough one. It is a tough one. I do think. Do you know what? That's one of those ones. I genuinely don't know what would be best.
Well, Mike doesn't know. I'm not too sure. I'm sort of on the fence with it. I can understand why they want to do it to try and bring a bit of joy to the country, but in the same sense, fuck them. So
I don't deserve it.
yeah, let us know what your opinions are on that in the comments section below, or get at us on Twitter. The other question I did have is Mesut Ozil. Little bit of what you could say about him at Arsenal. Divides opinions is probably the nicest way to put it. Some fans loved him, some fans hated him, some players loved him, some owners didn't. However, there have been calls from the Arsenal fan base to sack other players because they are donning Mesut Ozil's merch. He has a merch company and they are all wearing it. And some names that have been called for, or pictures that have been seen wearing it. Lacazette, Aubameyang and Willian. What is your opinion? Should they be treated in the same way that he was, or treated by the fan base in the same way that they treated him when he wasn't on form, for supporting his other business ventures? Or should it just be let them wear what they want to wear?
I'm not being funny. I think Hector Bellerin come out once in a fucking bin bag.
Yeah, but he's French, isn't he? Or is he Spanish? No, he's Spanish. I want to make Bellerin French. I don't know why.
I think that's it's not even a stupid question. I mean, not even from you. So, sorry, what I mean by that is it's stupid that people are starting to get outraged by supporting Mesut Ozil's venture into the clothing industry. A piece of clothing does not have, or does not symbolize, beliefs in religion, political views, or anything like that. They are merely wearing a piece of clothing, supporting a friend's business that might actually genuinely like the clothes. I mean, I've had a look. Personally, it's not my cup of tea, but then I've never really been the height of fashion in any walk of life that I've been in. It's not my personal cup of tea, but I think if it was something similar for the likes of yourself or any other of my friends that are starting up a clothing business. In fact, I can actually relate to that because there's a guy who does my tattoos, who is obviously struggling due to the current pandemic, but he has given him the ability to open up other ventures and has just recently launched his own clothing line,
Very good.
which I have placed an order in for a t-shirt and a hoodie. And I would like to think I would do that for other friends as well, providing I liked it.
Yep. So you heard it here first.
So
If you like it, buy it,
yeah,
regardless of whether
again,
your club's banned you because you didn't like slavery in China.
yeah, it's stupid. It is stupid, the narrow-mindedness of some people. And to be honest, I am starting to get really frustrated with some of the comments that you see on social media, and it does sometimes get close to the point of me wanting to come off social media just because you deal with some absolute knobs voicing their opinions. But at the same time, it is good because you get to see people hurting themselves for stupid videos. So
opinions are a bit like arseholes. Everyone's got one. I don't necessarily want to hear
it. Exactly.
So, okay, that's a good standpoint now. I do have two more quick points for you. Salford City.
Yes.
Become the shortest reigning people to hold the Papa John's Trophy, as it is now known, or whatever it used to be known as.
The LDV Vans Trophy.
That's it, yeah. Vanarama, whatever.
Yeah.
They held it for 24 hours. It was last year's cup final that was postponed until the other day. 24 hours later, Sunderland beat Portsmouth and they're now reigning champions. So does that, in your opinion, have to go down as the worst title defence ever?
Yes.
Less than 24 hours, you've already lost it.
Yep.
Didn't even get to play in the final. And one last final thing, Grandad Glazer. I don't know if he's a grand. I'd assume he is. He looks about 900,000 years old. One of the guys who owns a lot of stake in Manchester United allegedly has put up for sale 78 million shares in Manchester United. That's not all of his shares. Manchester United fans, right, are up in arms that means Manchester United won't see any of that money because it's his own personal sale. Are Manchester United fans thick as shit? Or do you think he should donate his own personal wealth by selling those shares to Manchester United?
I would put that question in a different aspect, that if you had money in your savings account, would you give it away to your football club? If you had, would you? No, I'll put it in a slightly different. Your house is an asset.
Yes, it is.
Would you sell your house in order to fund your club?
No. Well, if you ask me on a Monday, no, I fucking wouldn't. I wouldn't. It's his own personal wealth.
Do you know what?
It's his to do with.
This is the bit that pisses me off. I've seen people tweeting Mesut Ozil, right? Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things that absolutely outraged me, is that you have people messaging Mesut Ozil. You do have the sincere ones, such as please forgive me for saying it in this context, in this tone, but little girl has cancer. Mesut Ozil, please can you help send us a shirt so we can kind of raffle it off, fundraising, and all that sort of stuff, or my daughter is sick or my son is sick, please can you get us a signed shirt from the team or something. That bit I can kind of get at. But when you have people messaging this Mesut Ozil saying give us $5,000, and then someone tweeting back saying, why would he give you $5,000? And the response being, well, he gets paid 350 grand a week, he don't need it. That really, really, really got on my tits.
If you did that the other way around and someone earns £300 a week, and you say, give us 50 quid, they go, no, then surely they're just as bad as Mesut Ozil for not giving them 50 grand or whatever it was, £5,000. So I agree. We hear it here first. You've heard it here first. Officially, football fans are thick as shit as a collective. There are moments of individual brilliance, and I will put myself into this category. As a collective, we are thick as shit. Sorry, folks.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Some of you might disagree, but I'm not saying individually, but as a collective. That and people on Twitter.
Yep.
I'm not sure what's worse. I'm going to run the Twitter poll. Who's worse, football fans or people on Twitter?
As well as the goal of the week. Check
As
us out.
well as the goal of the week. Have you got anything football related to finish us up with on potentially a more positive note than we are as a collective figure shit?
On a positive note, no. Just wanted to get your thoughts on, is it Chris Wilder been, or I'm not entirely sure what's happened. Did he resign? Did he get sacked? What happened?
I think they
Sheffield United, just to clarify.
Yes. My understanding is from reports I've read that they left on a unmutual or mutually agreed to part ways because they were having disagreements, and that is Chris Wilder and the board. Some are saying it's a sacking, some are saying he resigned. So I don't think, unless you was in the room where it happened or on the telephone call, I don't think you're ever really going to know the truth. I think it's sad for Sheffield United. He sort of brought them back from nothing, giving them a bit of hope, giving them their best Premier League total ever. Yes, they have suffered from second season syndrome, but I think he would have stayed on and guided the team back to the Premier League. Sorry, by me. Some are saying the board weren't. Oh, got a bubble. Some are saying that the board weren't happy with his signings, like Ryan. It's like hiccups. Ryan Brewster was an expensive signing. They didn't back him in January. He wanted some loan signings. They said no, we're not giving you any more funding. So it's sort of that relationship has
burn it out.
Yeah. So I don't blame him for leaving because they need to invest in the club. He has done well. He's proven they can do well. They've suffered with injuries in the beginning part of the season. Some real key players out for them. They lost, in my opinion, one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and got the relegator in. Sad, but I do think he will go on to bigger and better things in Sheffield United. But I can't imagine there will be a single Sheffield United fan who is glad about it.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's sort of like bittersweet. I think they all will wish him well, but they wish he was still there.
Yeah. But that was it.
Knows?
That was my alb.
Well, until next week, I have been Ian.
I've been Mike.
We are FDT-TV. We will see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.